So if everything I build disappeared tomorrow, right? No clinic, no reputation, no physician relationships, and no patient list, here's exactly what I would do to get my first 100 physician referrals back. So if you're starting a physical therapy clinic from zero, or you feel like you're starting over, you don't need magic, you need a roadmap, right? So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact plan that I would use to earn my first 100 physician referrals again, right? Not hope for, not be nice and see what happens, but actually earn. If we haven't met, I'm Dr. Robbie Woelkers. I'm one of the physical therapists and co-owners there at Rehab CEOs, and I scaled 3 physical therapy clinics in under 18 months. I sold my 50% shares back to my partner in 2021, and while under a 5-year non-compete, I built an 8-figure agency helping physical therapists grow and scale their clinics. So I lived the nobody knows me phase. I've also lived the I can't handle any more volume phase. So this plan is how you move from the first one to the second. So here's what you're going to learn. So number 1 is going to show you how to pick your niche. Number 2 is I'm going to show you how to build your provider 25 list of referral partners. Number 3 is become impossible to ignore and create a real cadence. Number 4 is I want to market to the entire office, while number 5 is to become their favorite resource. 6 is we're going to build a referral intelligence database. And number 7 is we're going to actually run a 12-month campaign and measure relationships, not just referrals. So at the end of this thing, I'm going to show you how to wire it all up into your clinic inside of our physician referral workshop. If I lost everything tomorrow, right, I wouldn't start by asking like, where can I get referrals from, right? I start by asking, who do I want to be the obvious choice for, right? Do I want to be the obvious choice for athletes or Medicare or women with incontinence or vestibular runners over 40? Because that niche, right, is going to determine which physicians matter most, right? Is it going to be orthos, right? Sports are going to be more for your athletes, PCPs, cardiologists, neuro for your Medicares, OBGYNs and urologists for your pelvics, ENTs and neuro for vestibular, right? So if you're the PT for everyone, you're memorable to no one. So like when we're looking at this thing, and I told you guys, the first thing that we would want to do is figuring out the who, right? Or more specifically, it's going to be your niche. So you need to start taking an inventory of who do you like to work with, right? Now, one thing that I always like to educate people on and coach people on is that like, yeah, I mean, sure, you can work with vertigo patients, right? But they also have like 2-visit length of stays, right? Or you could work with like people that have like balance and fall issues, which have significantly longer plan of cares, people who recently had a stroke, right? People who recently. So when you're looking at your niche, there's always going to be health, there's going to be wealth, and relationships. Those are the big 3. Okay. So now what happens inside of the health department, because that's where we're at, there's all of these different niches inside of health, but more specifically, we are going to be in the rehab niche, right? So when we're looking at the rehab niche, we are going to have PTs, we're going to have OTs, we're going to have chiros, functional medicine, massage, right? You could argue stretch therapists, personal trainers of sorts. We are all inside the rehab department. So we're going to pick PT specifically. That could then get broken down into, right? Are we doing acute care? We do inpatient. We're doing outpatient. We're doing home health, right? So there's a whole niche specific to that, right? We are specifically going to do outpatient. And now inside of outpatient, we could then break that down one more. I wouldn't go any further. I would just do one more. It's like, what are we going to do, right? Are we going to do general orthopedic? Are we going to do sports? Are we going to do wound care? Are we going to do pelvic floor and women's health, right? So pick your niche, and then that is where I want you guys to be able to stop. We don't have to go down into knee and shoulder and this and that, right? We are just going to stop here at this level, okay? So that is the first thing that I want you guys to do, is figuring out who, right? Who do you want to be the obvious choice for? What would you like to be known for? Now, number 2 is actually really fun. So if you guys ever read the book, The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, inside the book, there's a chapter there specifically called the Dream 100 Method. So the Dream 100 Method is pretty simple. It's who has my customers, right? Who is in front of my customers every single day? And then what you do is you create a list of 100 of those people. And then ultimately you do some deep research on, their needs, their wants, everything, right? You research their lifestyle, their family, their clinic, their business. You create this massive database of all this information, and then you start to do your reach outs. But you already have all the information, so it's easy to have the small talk and easy barriers to entry, all of this fun stuff. Now, if I was to lose everything, right? If I was to lose everything and, I needed to be able to get 100 referrals quick, I don't know if I would make a list of 100 people and get one referral from each to be able to get my 100. That math isn't mathing for me. So what would I do here? I would probably look at creating a list of 25 people, and we'll call it our practice 25. So instead of our dream 100, right, we'll call it our practice 25. And then ultimately what I'm trying to do here is I want to make sure that I could get 25 people, and just simple math. If I get them to refer once a week, right, that's 25 referrals. If I get my list of 25 here to do 2, that's 50. If I do 3, that is going to be 75. And if I do 4, that is going to allow us to get to our 100, which, by the way, is the topic for this challenge here. So if we're able to get 4 referrals from our list of 25, that is going to be able to get our 100. So I'm going to be looking at orthopedic surgeons, primary care doctors, patient management, maybe pediatric orthopedic surgeons, podiatry, neuro, rheumatologists, urgent care, whatever, right? So ultimately what I'm looking at this thing is I need to be able to figure out, I have my niche, and now I want to make a list of 25 healthcare professionals that are constantly in front of my niche on a daily basis. Okay. And then the goal here is I don't necessarily want to go wide, right? I want to go deep, right? So instead of having 100 people and we're just trying to get like one referral from each, I need to get 25 people, and we need to be able to get 4 referrals from each. Which, by the way, once you set this up, and I've done this numerous times now, usually there's like tiers, right? There's going to be A tier, there's going to be B tier, and then there's going to be like C tier. So once you make your list of 25, there might be like 5 people that are referring you like 5 to 10 people a month or a week, excuse me. All right, well, let's do a month, right? A month, right? And, you get to B tier, there might be like 10 owners here. Or 10 healthcare providers that are referring anywhere between like 1 to 5. And then C tier is kind of like sporadic, right? It's kind of like 1 every other week or so on and so forth. And, this is kind of like your bottom 10, right? So ultimately what happens is we're trying to, obviously these people we're going to pour into, right? These people we continue to nurture, and these people we keep an eye on because we either keep them on our list or we eventually look to replace. So what I want to do first and foremost is let's create our list of 25. So as you guys are following along at home, create your list of 25 healthcare providers that actually see the patients who are inside of your niche. Okay. Then the next thing what I want to be able to do is I want to score them, right? I'm going to score them on things like, I'm going to score them on, let's just say 0 to 5. I want to do like referral, right? What's their referral potential? By the way, if they referred in the past, they probably will refer in the future. So maybe we're going to look at things like referral potential, right? I want to look at distance, right? Distance around my clinic, because people who are within a like 1 to 8 mile radius are more likely to refer to me than people like between 8 and 15 and then 15 plus. Right. So I need to keep things like that in mind. Okay. I need to understand, do I have any current relationships with these people? Have they referred to me in the past? Okay. Right. Do they have a good reputation? Just because they see my people, well, I don't want to send my people to people that don't have a good reputation. So I'm going to be looking at their Google reviews. I'm going to be looking at their website. I'm going to be looking at. I want to figure out, who are these people? I might even post on Facebook inside of like these groups and be like, hey, what do you guys know about this office? Right. And I want to figure out the reputation here. So next thing I want to do is I'm going to look at model overlap, right? If they're a cash clinic and we're insurance, not a good overlap. If they're an insurance clinic and we're cash, not a good overlap, right? I want to try to figure out their model more specifically. Is there any insurance overlap? Okay. Then I want to look at number of doctors, right? What's the number of doctors at that clinic, right? So you might go to awesome, orthopedic, I don't know, right? And they might have 12 doctors, right? So what is the number of docs that are inside of the facility. And then lastly, I might look at like existing volume, right? Maybe I'm looking at like just what is the amount of volume of patients they are seeing on like a daily basis. Okay. So then I'll rank these. I might do like a 0 to 5, and I'm going to go ahead and mark this out. And I'll be like, okay, referral potential, they're like a 3, distance to the clinic is a 5, right? Current relationship is a 4, reputation is a 5, model overlap is a 5, number of doctors there. Let's just say they have like 7, right? So that's a 5, volume of patients, massive, right? This would be a great person that I would want to reach out to first, right? Or referral potential is like a 2, distance is like a 1 because they're far away, current relationship is 0, reputation is a little spotty, model overlap is fine, total number of doctors, it looks like there's just 2 of them, volume is kind of low here, maybe a little bit of a low score versus high. Okay, so now listen, I'm going to make my list of practice 25. I am then going to give each one of these guys a grade, and then I'm going to know which ones might have a little bit more potential to reach out to than the other. Now, step 3 is the game changer, right? So step 3 is all about researching like a stalker, right? Because we're going to research before you show up, right? Before you reach out, before I walk into any office, I need a little dossier, right? I need to know, who are the physicians, what's their names, right? They're nurse practitioners, they're PAs, who's the referral coordinator, the office manager. I can find most of that stuff off LinkedIn, front desk, right? And I need to know, like, what do they treat? What surgeries are they known for? What insurances do they take? Remember, we need that insurance overlap, right? I need to know what their Google reviews complain about. What community events are they attending? Who do they already partner with, right? So I'm not building a list. I am building a strategy for each person on that list. And this is the difference between getting physician referrals and not, because when you show up and you know just a little bit about them, you are going to decommoditize yourself versus the other people reaching out that didn't take any time to research anybody on that list. So step number 3 is going to be do your research. Now, step number 4 is all about volume, because if we want to be visible, we have to have volume, and visibility is profitability. Remember, if we lost everything and we were to get, 100 physician referrals again, what would we do? Well, first of all, we created our niche, right? We figured out what that is. We started to build our list, and now we're doing some research. Okay. Now, step number 4 is to become visible, right? We need to make sure that we are impossible to ignore. So what this is going to look like, because honestly, guys, most clinics, what they typically do is like most clinics. So we'll just put most clinics over here, right? Most clinics, what do? Right? Well, most clinics, they're going to drop in like maybe once, maybe twice, drop off some cookies or some food, leave a business card, and then disappear, right? And these doctors know this, right? They are aware of this. They know that people are just going to show up, check the box, and then there's going to be nothing, right? So if you're kind of looking at this thing, it's kind of like there's going to be this event, and then it kind of just goes like that. So most clinics, right, after the initial 24 hours, they might get like a little peak of referrals there, but then they never get it again. Why? Because most clinics are looking at this thing called quick wins, right? They show up, they do the meeting, and then it kind of fizzles out. They go do another meeting, it fizzles out. They do another meeting, right? We're here, what we're trying to do as we're becoming top of mind and building this out and trying to get our first 100 referrals is we understand that the goal here is more compounding, right? We want the initial, but how do we keep this thing moving in the right direction, right? So we'll just say this is your clinic, right? So this is going to be your clinic, right? And then eventually what happens, these quick wins and this compounding will pass this little intersection here where all of your physician referrals that you're getting, right, will just compound over time. So how do I become top of mind? So weekly, right, we'll just break this down into like weekly. We'll break this down into like monthly. And then we're going to break this down into like quarterly, right? So from like a weekly standpoint, and this is actually really interesting. I'll tell you this quick story is I had a physician friend. He's still a buddy of mine, but he used to refer to us a ton. Like I'm talking like a ton. And what was really cool about it is I asked him one day, I said, hey, why do you refer to us instead of like some of the other clinics that are out there? And he goes, well, I refer to those guys, but I refer more to you guys because the answer is super simple. And he goes, top of mind. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he goes, well, he goes, there's not a day that goes by where we don't see a patient or some kind of documentation or hear about your clinic. He goes, because you guys are just always top of mind. So when I sat there and I thought about it, it's just like, well, that wasn't by chance. We were doing that on purpose. Okay. Because from a weekly standpoint, I'm sending like handwritten, right, thank you cards. And I'm sending handwritten thank you cards for the eval. I'm sending handwritten thank you cards for the referral. I'm sending handwritten thank you cards for meeting with me, right? I'm sending. So that's number one. So anytime you have the ability to handwrite a thank you card to somebody, do it, right? Next thing I'm doing is I'm friend requesting everybody on my Practice 25, everybody in their office, right? I'm going to friend request. I'm going to like, I'm going to comment, I'm going to share, right? And then they're going to see my stuff. So I see their stuff, they see, I see their stuff, they see my stuff. It's a beautiful thing. I'm going to go on LinkedIn, I'm going to go on Instagram, and I'm going to friend request these people, and I'm going to like, I'm going to comment, and I'm going to share, right? Also, I'm going to comment, and I'm going to leave them a review, right? So I'm going to go on to their Google or whatever. I'm going to comment. I'm going to read a review. Hey, Dr. So-and-so is amazing. Just met with them and their team. They run a great operation. Looking forward to our partnership in the future, right? I'm going to leave Google reviews on these physician offices because I'll remember that, right? Introduction to other providers. I'm going to introduce my team to their team, right? So I am constantly looking for a way to have light touch points. Also, what am I doing is I'm sending documentation nonstop, evals, progress summaries, discharges, all the things. Okay. From a monthly standpoint, what am I doing? Okay. I'm going to send outcome reports, right? Your EMRs allow you to print outcome reports. I'm going to send them outcome reports for how well we're doing as a clinic, right? How are we treating neck? How are we treating back? How are we treating knee, right? I'm going to send patient testimonials to them. More specifically, patients that are inside of their office. We're going to send over some testimonials, right? I'm going to send them on a monthly basis, like maybe a physician-facing newsletter. And inside that newsletter, we might have things that are pertinent to them in their office, right? Maybe include like a one-page research, right? How to do a certain so test, or how to do like a Hawkins Kennedy, how to do a empty can, or whatever, right? So I'm going to send them some research, right? Quick tip for patients and staff, right? Quick tip. So I might send them like some research or, a video that says, hey, watch this really quick if you want to improve your pain or discomfort while sitting at your desk. So I might send them a video for how to fix, right, their chair ergonomics. So how to sit at 90, 90, 90, right? How to fix their monitor, right? I'm going to send them some quick tips. And then from a quarterly standpoint, I'm going to lean in and be like, hey, I would love to do a workshop with you and your team. Right? I would love to come in and do a body ergonomic workshop or a transfer training workshop or something to be able to give a presentation in front of your team, right? I'm going to also come in and do some staff appreciation, right? Some drop-offs, right? Yeah, I still will go and I'll still drop some stuff off. But remember, I did research and I'm not bringing food or cookies, right? I know I got a doctor who likes to golf. So I'm going to bring him a sleeve of golf balls with their name on them, right? I know that a doctor's having a baby. So I'm going to show up and I'm going to bring them a onesie, right? So I'm going to do things that I have researched to be able to bring, right? And then ultimately too, right, I'm going to look at, hey, is there a possibility here where we could do something called a spotlight series, right? Where I interview that doc and I introduce him to my audience, okay? Now, you don't have to do all of this, right? You don't have to do all the weekly, all the monthly, but the goal here is to be top of mind. So what can you do on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis to make sure that you're top of mind with the 25 people who you just put on your list? Okay. So that is the fourth thing that we need to be able to do. So we just need to make sure that we're top of mind and constantly sending them things so that they remember us and they recognize us. Now, number 5 is actually really cool because number 5 is all about marketing to the entire office. So we had a physician that was actually really close to us. Our clinic was up on the second floor. So it was kind of like the second floor had like its own parking spot. And then you kind of loop down below the building. There was another. So we were up on the second, they were down on the first. And what was really cool is some of their staff would come up and be patients and vice versa. And it was just like, I didn't just get to know the doctors. I got to know the entire office. So one of the things that we see, one of the biggest mistakes that most clinic owners are making when they go to prospect for physicians is instead of going and meeting with the entire office and getting to know the office, they just want to go and meet with the MD, right? And that's a mistake because what I want you guys to understand is that, like, yes, there are MDs in the office, sure, right? But there's also a nurse practitioner. There's a physician assistant. There's not just one, but 2 referral coordinators, right? There's an office manager. There is going to be a front office receptionist. By the way, there's 3 of them, right? Oh, by the way, there's a pharmacist, right? So I want you guys to understand there's physicians, there's nurse practitioners, there's PAs, there's referral coordinators, there's office managers, there's nurses, there's MAs, there's front desk, there's surgery schedulers, right? So if you win the office, the referrals will follow because what typically happens here is we are building a relationship with these guys, right? The nurse practitioner, the MD, the PAs, right? That's who we want to get the referrals from. But realistically, you are not going to get referrals from anybody if these people over here don't know that you exist, okay? So you have to show the genuine curiosity, the genuine respect, right? And be able to do your research, not just on the physicians, but the entire office, okay? So that is going to be step number 5, is you need to be able to not just research and get to know just the physicians or the doctors, you have to be able to encompass the whole entire office inside of your process. Now, I know some of you guys are like, well, that sounds great, right? Talk to the office, awesome. But how do I actually become their favorite resource, which is number 6? So from 0, starting over, I would never leave with like, can you just send us some patients? Right? Doesn't work that way. I would leave with like, how can I make your job easier to refer? Right? Then I would build promises like, hey, we guarantee that every patient referred gets contacted within 15 minutes of receiving the referral, or you get a clear eval summary before their follow-up, or we honor your post-op protocols exactly as you intend. And we call patients who no-show, keep you in the loop of anybody who doesn't come in and drops off. So you're not solving a referral problem, you're solving a workflow problem. So you make them look good and make their day smoother, you're going to win that long-term relationship. Okay, so now that you determined your niche, right? And then what we did is we created our practice 25. We want to make sure that we're top of mind. We did our research. We're starting to prospect with the office, and we want to make sure that we become their favorite resource. Now we need to be able to create a referral intelligence database. Okay. So one of the easiest things to do is get out like a Google sheet or, Excel document or whatever that looks like. Right. And you want to kind of treat this thing like a mini CRM. So you want to figure out like here, I'll go ahead and change this up. So let's just say we're going to go ahead and create like columns here, and we're going to figure out like, hey, what is the name of the office? Right. So you're going to put all the names of your 1 through 25 over here as your office. Then you're going to try to figure out, okay, when was the last time you saw them? When was the last visit, right? When was the last referral date, right? When was the last time you went? When was the last time they were able to refer someone to you? What's the referral coordinator's name, right? What is their email? What is their phone number, right? We want to be able to know who the referral coordinator is. Then we want to figure out what are their favorites, right? Do they like chocolate? Do they like coffee, right? Do they have any kids, right? Do they have any hobbies? Right, we want to be able to write all of this stuff out, right? Office, we want to figure out last visit, last referral date, referral coordinator, favorites, kids, hobbies, right? Do we have any follow-up tasks that need to be completed. Maybe you had an appointment with them. You had a really nice meeting. You said, hey, I'm going to send you something. What is that thing you said you were going to send them, right? When was the last time that you sent a note, handwritten note, or thank you, right? Do you have to send one of those out soon, right? So now all of a sudden you cannot rely on your memory, right? You can't rely on memory, staff changes, providers move, new care coordinators show up, right? Relationships compound if you actually track them. So that's where you want to be able to build out this referral intelligence database, right? Because remember, we went to 0 and we got 25 people. And we got to manage all this stuff and you're still going to be treating patients. So we need to be able to figure out who's the office, who's the providers that work there. When was the last time we visited? Oh, I just was there. Oh gosh, it was 5 weeks ago, right? That's a long time, right? So we got to be able to track this. When was the last visit? When was the next time you're going to go back, right? And then we're going to figure out the referral coordinator, their name, their email, their phone, what are their hobbies, right? And now all of a sudden we have the physician stuff, we have the referral coordinator stuff, and now we're off to the races. So once you're able to track this and set this up, it makes things super simple. And then the ultimate play here is you want to create your content for your practice 25. So almost nobody plays this game. So every month, I would take one piece of content specifically for physicians in my niche, right? Return running protocols, rotator cuff rehab timelines, right? Low back pain research in plain English, right? ACL milestones, fall risk screening and home safety, concussion management. I mean, you name it, right? Then I would repurpose each into a PDF. I would then create a short video, right? A LinkedIn post and email to my practice 25, right? So, and I would also have like a printed handout and potential lunch and learn topic, right? Now I'm not begging for attention, right? I'm educating my market and giving them the tools to make them look smart. So now all of a sudden, like I am providing value, like, hey, you guys might need this and might want to send this out to your patients, right? Or you might want to send this out to your staff so that they're aware, right? You know, a lot of like receptionists, they struggle with this and this at the front desk. A lot of physicians and techs, they struggle with this when working with patients, right? So I'm going to be able to give them content. Remember, I'm creating top of mind. And how do I do that is I create value to them. So I'm going to have like this content that I'm going to be able to create. Now with AI tools and everything like that, you could whip this up really fast and be able to send this out on a monthly basis. Now, remember, the thing here is that we want to be able to own one thing, okay? So when we're looking kind of at our process here, right, we don't want to just be a PT clinic, right? We want to be like a niche clinic, right? Examples are vestibular, ACL, pelvic, runner, shoulder. So if I'm starting over, right, I don't want to just be like PT clinic, right? That isn't going to do it for me, right? We want to be able to be the PT clinic who specializes in ortho or sports or women's health, right? Remember, that was our niche. So when a doc thinks like, oh, ACL, boom, they think of you, right? When they think like, oh, balance and fall patient, right? Because you treat balance and falls, they think of you, right? When they think about like a runner, right? They think of you, right? So that's why positioning matters. So it makes every other step like 10 times easier. So when we're saying top of mind, right? And we're thinking about like what content and what things to be able to send them, right? Well, let's just say you put on your practice 25 someone who specializes in shoulder because you want to see more shoulders. Well, you're not going to send that person patient their information on back pain, right? You're going to send them stuff related to what they treat. Now, you might put someone on your list there that specializes in back pain. So again, my content and my stuff, I'm going to send them a testimonial about a patient with back pain. I'm going to send them functional outcome measures of somebody with back pain, right? I'm going to be as close to their niche because I want them to think that that's what I also treat. That is the beauty of this. Okay. So as you guys are owning one thing, right? If you're putting out generic content to all of your 25, that's why it's cool. Like we won't be able to manage 100 people, but 25 here, I can make it super niche specific, right? Because if I want to be known as the back guy, right? And I'm sending back stuff to the shoulder guy, that's not going to work, right? But if I have a woman, you know, who specializes in like ACL reconstructions and I'm sending her things about ACLs and, you know, hey, thanks for sending this ACL patient, or I have an ACL patient to send you, right? Now all of a sudden they're like, oh, this guy treats ACLs. Right. And now all of a sudden that positioning is going to make it easier for them to just be like, oh, just go to this guy because that's what he specializes in. Okay. Really, really cool. So that is where we want to make sure that we own the thing. We want to take that marketing content that we just talked about and make sure we position it in a way that makes you look like the expert. Okay. So now what we want to do is the final step here is we want to create like your 12-month campaign, which sounds like daunting in itself. You're like, oh, 12 months. Like, how are we going to be able to do this? Right. Super simple. Right. So when we're looking at this thing, I like to sit down and I just go like January, February, and then we take this all the way down to December. So we come up with our 12-month plan. So we got our 12-month plan here, right? How are we going to roll out 12 months of content over to our physicians? So super simple, might be like January. I want to make sure when it comes to our practice 25 here that we try to do some kind of coffee or visit together. I can try to get them out of the office. I try to get me out of the office. Hey, I would love to go for coffee together. What does your schedule look like? Okay. Maybe in February, you're going to do some kind of like research article plus like some kind of cover letter to all of your physicians, but it's going to be specific to them and their niche, right? Maybe March, I'm going to leverage things like a lunch and learn. Right now, I'm going to go to them and I'm going to provide a presentation. Again, not a presentation on me and my services, but a presentation that would be valuable for them, almost like a CEU. I'm going to go to them and be like, well, hey, this is how to fix body ergonomics in the workplace. I'm going to go to them and figure out like how to transfer patients without getting injured. Right. I want to do a lunch and learn specifically on something that they are having an issue with around the office. Right. April, I might do patient success stories, right? May, I might do like a staff appreciation, right? Of some kind of thing, or like a staff appreciation kind of treat that I could drop off, right? Hey, a referral coordinator, front office is crushing it. I really appreciate what you guys are doing, right? July, who knows, right? You guys could then come up with your whole entire marketing plan. Each month we have a topic around, what you could specifically provide, right? Maybe in September, you're sending outcome reports. Maybe in October for Halloween, you do like a pumpkin or, a fall theme kind of thing, right? You're dropping off pumpkins to the offices that are hand painted with maybe their logo on it, not your logo. Your logo, it's advertisement. Their logo, it's a gift, right? Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving, thank you notes, Christmas, right? Gifts of some sort with a handwritten card. Awesome. Right? So you want to be able to create like each month, what are we going to do? So one office every month, every year, right? So that's 25 times 12. Like think about how much outreach that is. Awesome. Then we're going to be able to track some things, right? We want to track like leading indicators and then kind of like lagging indicators, right? So I want to know, right? What was the total number of visits that we complete? Did we do 25 out of 25? Or did we only get 10 out of 25, right? I want to know, did we actually complete all 25 outreaches, okay? Right? What was the visits completed, right? What was the staff relationship, right? Is it a red, yellow, green, right? Red, yellow, green. Red is it's not a good relationship. Yellow is we're nurturing it. Green, it is awesome, right? I want to figure out like how many, continuing educations or workshops did we do? What was the response time to MD referrals, right? So if they send us a referral and it's taken us 7 days, that's not good. But if they're sending us a referral and it's taken 15 minutes to respond, that's better, right? Progress notes sent, eval sent, thank you notes. These are all leading indicators that I will track. Now, lagging indicators, right? I want to know new, right? Referring physicians, right? Who's actually referring? I want to know the total number of patients referred, right? These are your inputs. These are your outputs, right? And I want to figure out what was the referral revenue off of those referrals, right? I want to know the average referrals per physician. Remember, the goal here is to be able to get 100 from our 25, which means I need to have 4 or more, right? So are these people reactivated or dead referrals coming back, right? Maybe they just started to drop off. We did some outreach and now all of a sudden we were able to de-escalate some of these referrals, right? So that is going to be the key here, guys, is you want to create your 12-month marketing plan. You want to make sure that of the 25 people, like each one's going to get something each month, right? How many visits did we actually do? Did we go 25 for 25 or did we only do 10 out of 25? What's the relationship, right? Is it red, yellow, or green right now, right? And we're able to figure these things out and track the metrics that we have coming in. And then going out, it's like, what are the new physicians? What are the number of patients? What is the average referral for physicians? And that is how we're going to be able to create our 12-month marketing plan. If I had to rebuild a clinic today from zero, right, my practice 25 cadence would be this. So for each target, right? So each target that we put on our practice 25 list, I would do at least one in-person visit per month. I would do at least one value-based email per month. I would do one handwritten note. I would do one lunch and learn probably every like 6 months, right? Where I go and do like a clinical ed presentation. I would also want to throw in one staff and one physician appreciation each year, right? So that's 100% same day communication on every single shared patient. So across 25 offices, right? That is going to be 1,200 meaningful touch points per year. So you stop being another PT office and you're going to become like the trusted extension of their care team, right? So referrals are going to start to become the byproduct of all that value and not just you simply begging for more referrals. If you want help actually building this out for your clinic instead of just nodding along here, I'm going to be hosting a physician referral workshop. It's going to be called How to Become Top of Mind and Stay There. So inside, we're going to build your exact practice 25 list that we talked about earlier, create your referral intelligence database, and then map out your 12-month cadence so you never forget to follow up, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to plug it into your front desk and your provider systems. So this is going to be able to run without depending on your memory. So if you're a physical therapy clinic owner and you want your first 100 physician referrals to be inevitable instead of accidental, click the link in the description or the pinned comment, and you're going to see the dates, you're going to see the details, and then you're going to be able to grab a seat. So if I lost everything tomorrow, this is the plan that I would use to get it back, right? So click the link here. Let's build it out for you.